Hello! Welcome to Anime Mystics. I'm Roman, and tonight I am watching Little Witch Academia Episode 5. So, last episode, um, there, well, Lot was trying to go into town, because they were having this big event for this book series that she really likes. I cannot remember the name of it. But it really reminded me a lot of Twilight, except with more outrageous stories. And it's been going on for much, much, much longer. um, but she wasn't able to, at least at first, because, oh god, Akko decided to steal a tart from the cafeteria, like late at night. um, she just loves to eat, so she went into the kitchen and grabbed one. They actually called it something else at first. I forget what they called it. Was it like a cake or something? But she had to correct them and said it's a tart. You know, if you're gonna accuse me of taking something that I actually took, then at least get it right. It was a tart. And that just made it even worse because tarts are more expensive. um, so they got detention for, I think it was the weekend. And Akko didn't really, mind. I mean, she cared, but she didn't really care because, she got her tart. Lot, on the other hand, was begging to be allowed to go into town that weekend because something was going on that she needed to go to. And they denied her. So they come up with a plan. I think it was Akko who came up with the plan. It might have been Susie, but I can't remember exactly. One of them came up with a plan where they had to go and unload the new food delivery, which was a bunch of potatoes. And as the driver was leaving and they were closing the back, they snuck into the back of the truck and got out of the school and into town. I think she came dressed as a character, I believe. Either way, they went into town because now she really had to go because the author for the books was going to be there, and nobody ever, I guess, sees the author. So she's just taking in everything. It's like a huge convention. Like, say you go to an anime convention, you see cosplayers, you see people talking, there's food, just like a huge event. And she is just looking at all of the costumes and naming all the characters. And then she sees someone dressed as a clock, and she's super excited because it's some place where this person lived or something for a while. I can't remember. She was supposed to meet somebody there too, because she was talking to them on this little ball that's sending messages back and forth, and they kind of end up meeting. The person in the clock ended up being who she was supposed to meet. Anyway, she goes into the hall where they're having the event with the author, and they're doing some trivia contest, and the winner gets a prize from the author, who shows up, and it's some little girl, and they're all pretty shocked. Man. There were a couple other girls from the school there, and they were both like, why don't we just stick around and make fun of these people? And they're like, yeah, okay. And then they get into the hall, and you find out that one of them is a fan of the books, because they're asking the questions, and she's raising her hand because she knows the answers. it was like everybody was involved, but only those who really wanted to answer questions. Lot was one of them. The person in the clock was one of them, and a few others, and it ended up coming down to two people, Lot and the clock. And there was one question, something about flowers. Like, what kind of flower does somebody like, or was used for this, or something like that. And the clock went first, got it wrong. And then Lot was trying to think, and notices that on the back of the author's phone, she has a case with magnolias on it. I think it's magnolias, or is it a... It wasn't magnolias. It was something else. Oh God, what was the flower? I can't remember the flower now. Oh well. But she notices the flower that's on the back of the case, and then she names that as the flower, and it was correct. So she won. And the author comes down from her seat, which is like high up on this platform, and she goes over to Lot and she hands her a pen, and she's like, all right, you're the new author, and then disappears. And she's kind of freaking out because she doesn't want to be the author. So she's looking all over the place for this little girl, and they end up finding her in this not really a park, but a grassy area, and she gives her back the pen. She explains to her that she's come up with some of the best stories, that she really cares about the characters, and that she should be the one to continue writing, at least for as long as she can. And convinces her to, take the pen back, because the pen actually chooses who the next author is. And the pen didn't really choose Lot. The author chose Lot. So, yeah. So she takes the pen back, and she's, like, reinvigorated to start writing another book. And when they get back to the school, the principal and a few of the other teachers are waiting for them because, they were supposed to be in detention, and that did not happen. And now they are... Oh God, what were they doing? They had some other kind of punishment. But Lot basically says, because Akko brought up, that she was surprised that she didn't take the pen and become the author, since she likes the characters so much, she would be able to write really good stories. And she was like, well, I don't really want to... Well, she said, I'm not really like you. I don't want to emulate or, become my idol. I want to enjoy what they do. But basically, it all came down to she didn't want to write the stories because she would already know what happened, and that wouldn't be interesting for her, so she wanted to wait until each book was released to be able to read and see what happens. Which makes sense to me. Anyway, I am not sure what's going to happen in this episode, so let's get into it and see what's going on. Video is going to be located over here, and the link to the reaction is going to be in the description down below. And we're going to start this episode in 3, 2, 1.